A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for keeping it NBS Television. It is the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show. Of course, this is the topical discussion where we get to talk about economics, especially on a day like Thursday. I am very excited about my panel this morning and great insights that we shared shortly before we actually did come through on the show. Allow me introduce to you in no particular order my guest this morning, and we will be looking at the transition agenda into the money economy as planned by the government. But first of all, I will start off from my right. I always say I start off from my right with Mr. Peter Mabienda, who is an economist and a lecturer at Makerere University. A very good morning to you, Peter, and a pleasure having you. Say hello to our viewers.
Good morning, viewers, and happy to be here.
A pleasure having you. And on this side, I have Honorable Hassan Chirumida, Member of Parliament, Katikamu South. Assalamu alaikum. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ugandans. Happy to be here.
And the fact that I did greet you in that manner, I would like to take you a little bit back to the just recently concluded National Population and Housing Census. Of course, it has shown clearly into the discussion that we'll later be delving into. It has shown a bit of a greater increase of people who are getting into the money economy and slowly but surely jumping out of the poverty curve. But your 2 cents about the recently released Population and Housing Census results. There was a lot of argument about the decrease, especially in Acholis and Bagishu, but of course the UBOS has come out to say there was just an interchange. Your 2 cents about the results that did come through.
Yeah, definitely. You know, census, when it happened, we told Ugandans maybe we are not ready.
Okay.
And the most important thing for our country is data, knowing each and every aspect of our country, but how they did it and what happened and now the lies they're telling Ugandans, it's detrimental.
What do you consider lies? Because data is data. It's what they've asked me and the answers I gave that they will determine.
The degree of effectiveness of data is of paramount importance if we are to draw conclusions going forward. Because we have to use this data for national growth. Now, if you're coming up with statistics and lying to a country, I was just telling you about the statistics of Muslims, the population of Muslims in the country, and you say it has not increased.
Actually, religiously, the only population that went up in terms of religion was the Pentecostal side.
Exactly. Muslims are marrying 4 wives. We all know that. It's on record. So you cannot tell us that ever since then,
10 years apart.
10 years, we're still the same. I mean, really? So that's why we have to do things properly.
Okay.
As a country, if we start faltering on data, we are facing a very big problem. And that's why maybe so many Ugandans are contesting this, the outcome of this census.
Okay. Anything else that came out positive for you, particularly?
Of course, look at the modus operandi, how they carried out the statistics and the whole census. So many people were not counted. And they come out open to say, we did not see these people in our area. Okay. So government, where did you get UBOS? Where did you get that data? Where did you collect it from? Just here in Luwero, even in Luwero, we have families that came on record. We never saw UBOS at our houses. Okay. So we're wondering, where did you get the data? Okay. They must come and explain to Ugandans where they got those statistics.
They got the data from those they did count. There is an error of, a margin of error, but I am not, thank you so much for your for your 2 cents. I am not taking on the job of Mr. Didakas Okoth, who is the PR, but it's very interesting. And I definitely knew there had to be a conversation about, you know, the reduction, especially religiously. It was very interesting. Let me get to Peter. You as well as an economist, waiting up 10 years apart for the census result is one phenomenal thing because, like Honorable Hassan said, it is data that we use for planning for the next at least 10 years. What stood out for you?
Yeah, just as I said, the data should be reliable, should be trusted, and the process should be clear. And as you have said, the 10 years, and I think the process started earlier, preparing, But towards the start, as he said, many people complained we are not counted. So once you see the process, people doubting the process, and then the final results released, and then you hear statements, we are sorry, forgive us, yet the process should be very sharp, so that what comes out is free from errors, so that we can trust it. So now this is creating a lot of problems of trust, and yet this is the data that we need to believe in and use for planning. So even the good things you are talking about which came out from this population census
have been overshadowed.
Yes. So even someone will question the 67%, how true is it? And then someone says, for us, we are not counted this side. These cries have been ongoing, that we are not counted, we are not counted. Even within here, the city, even some officials. So I think we need to do better to make sure that our statistics are highly trusted.
Okay. And actually, let's start off from that very statistic. The 67% of Ugandans who moved into the money economy. How much of the trust would you have that more Ugandans are moving into the money economy? Or why wouldn't you even trust as such when government over the years has introduced a myriad of, initiatives just to be able to lead to socio-economic transformation?
Yeah, because it depends on the definition of one being in a money economy. We see now, even in the village, trade is increasing.
Okay.
Many villages nowadays no longer have food. Actually, sometimes food is coming from the city to rural areas. So that could be an indicator of money economy. And then also, especially the campaign on coffee that has made many people to start growing coffee and sell, so they are making money. Rice, maize, the relative improvement in the infrastructure that has made trade easy, that the traders from Kampala can easily move to rural areas. That one has somehow brought people into the money economy. So how much of the money do they keep? That could be another issue. But the statistic on the money economy could be right, basing on the circumstances we are seeing in the village, that many people are slowly. You see trading centers are coming, are growing. I think villages, the size of villages has reduced drastically. You see the mobile money deep in the villages. As you know, we no longer use this paper for airtime. So how do people in the rural areas get airtime? So that one, slowly people have moved into the money economy. But how much money are these people holding? Because if in a week, if I'm only getting, say, 1,000 shillings, if we come to ask, depending on how the question has been asked, that person will automatically be taken to be in the money economy. But how much was it? That could be something that we need to highly look at. Okay,
thank you very much. And you actually give very important highlighters, and you ask a very important question that I'll be coming back to you on how much is being kept. That's a very important one as well. Honorable Hassan, looking at the statistics that have been given, and of course we've probably continuously seen more Ugandans interested in the government initiatives. What do you think could be the precursor to such statistics of more than half of the population at least joining the money economy, because that's the greatest gospel that the president is preaching right now?
It depends on how they define money economy.
Okay.
Because for me, in economics, we know it's just a change from barter trade to use of money. Now, if that's what they mean, maybe I've moved on to 67%.
Okay.
Because previously, back in the days, people used to change goods for goods.
Barter.
And the barter trade. And the need was to move into the money economy. Now, specifically, if that's what they mean, then it means you have moved 67%. But if they are trying to insinuate, sorry for the lack of better word, that Ugandans or 67% of Ugandans have access to money.
But they're not only working for what will be in their stomach, but also can have some to sell and get some cash in their hand.
The biggest measure of that is the per capita income.
Okay.
Look at the figures, how much Ugandans are earning. Many of them, biggest percentage of Ugandans are living below $1 on a daily basis. And we all know that it is factual. Now, economics, it's very easy to tell because maybe Ugandans are focusing so much on the theory of economics. They are looking at the bigger picture of economics theories. But when you go practically in terms of what is happening to our people money-wise, our people do not have that money they are talking about. Of course, maybe you are looking at figures. They are looking at the gross domestic product divided by the population. And then, of course, they'll come up with a figure because some Ugandans are here so rich to the extent that they are having money that should belong to other Ugandans. And the moment you focus on that figure of dividing the income of the country by the population, you are forgetting the fact that some Ugandans are so rich and others are so poor.
The gap in between is very
There's
wide.
a big income gap between the rich and the poor.
Yeah.
The rich are continuously getting richer and richer because, of course, they have different means of production and their incomes are consistently increasing. The poor people, the Ugandans in our townships, in our villages, are becoming poorer and poorer. Why? They do not have jobs. Of course, they are going to come and tell you, we are moving into a money economy because of PDM. And they are looking at PDM as the biggest driver of our economy. And don't even, actually, what they are trading to Ugandans, that implementing PDM is going to quickly transform our economy into a money economy. That is a lie. Because we all know what is happening with the PDM
Well, why
money.
do you think it's a lie? Because government is looking at production and productivity at the household income level. What economic activity are you dealing with that will enable you, yes, to have some income, but also sell off? That's probably the measure government is trying to look at.
What has moved countries into a money economy is not stipend or pocket money, because that 1 million they are giving to people is pocket money. What moves countries and incomes of countries to where they are now, or where people are having money, is mass production, investment in production with very high returns. Look at the sectors where Uganda is investing money. PDM, I mean, really? At Parliament, we cried, actually. Guys, invest money in tourism. Look at the tourism sector. We all know it has the potential to employ people, and the more employment you get, you're going to get incomes in different households, and as incomes increases in different households, the expenditure pattern will increase, production all over the country will increase, and that is basic economics. But if you're thinking about giving money to each and every household as a precursor for economic growth, that is a lie. I'll give you a very good example. Over the weekend, I was in Sambwe, one of my parishes, with one of the ministers. And people were saying, we've not seen PDM money. And you are in Kampala telling the country, lying to the country, that this country has moved on with PDM. I mean, really? So we have to go back to the drawing board and know what is going to make our country grow economically, what is going to put money in the pockets of our people, and then we move on. But if we focus on PDM as a precursor of economic growth, that we're going to continuously give money to different households, it's a big lie. I'll give you a very good example. In the parish where I come from, Nakasero in Wobulens Town Council, we have more than 5,000 people living there. Now, if you get that 100 million divided by 5,000 people, that money cannot even do anything to those people.
But one by one makes a bundle, Honorable. Do you believe that a journey of 1,000 miles will start with one? That's why they're asking, form the groups, do something sensible out of it, and we start from there.
PDM was ushered in 2 years, 3 years ago. As we speak now,
and you as a parliamentarian
some parishes
had the audacity to discuss and get to analyze how important this will be? Is it to say that there was nothing positive really about PDM as it was being rolled?
No. Actually, when they came up with this program, we told them the program is good.
Okay.
But how you are going to implement it is wrong. They did not listen. We gave them parameters on what, of course, I come from the shadow cabinet. Back then, it was a big debate in our shadow cabinet, trying to advise government on the approach, how they should
What sort
approach.
of implementation approach was your suggestion to government, except what we're seeing right now?
Of course, first of all, they are talking about equity and equality in the distribution of money. We told them there's no equity here because parishes have different numbers and population. You got to find a parish of 100 people, 1,000 people, and then you're going to get another parish that has 10,000 people. Now, if you focus on giving 1 million, rather 100 million per parish, then you are getting it wrong at the onset.
Okay.
It was an issue of equality that was bound to make this whole process fail. The government did not listen, and then we went back to the previous attempts of Emyoga, Operation Wealth Creations. We told them, learn from the previous mistakes before you usher in this one.
All right. Thank you very much.
They are so quick to implement.
Thank you.
And that's why we find ourselves in this position.
I will definitely be allowing us delve deeper into that one-size-fits-all kind of approach that you did bring about. But Peter, you asked a very important question. Yes, you're making the money, but how much money are you keeping? How much of importance is the savings culture, or how much you're keeping in your pocket even after spending or after earning it, important in the context of the money economy that we're talking about right now as a country?
Yeah, because when you save, first of all, you bring the money to what we can call a basket, which is a bank.
Yeah.
And that means the investors can access it and further make investments. But just following up from the Honorable on the PDM, and whether we learnt lessons from the other program. There were some kind of lessons. For example, when you look at the PDM, there is a committee, there is a parish committee, which is supposed to see it and see what is good for this village and then select those. That was a lesson. But also the pillars, other pillars that came on board, including savings, registering SACCOs, because SACCOs is one way we can encourage people to save. Looking at here in Uganda, if you looked at an example of, say, CBS Peyosa, these Mothers Union associations, women have been able to come up through those small savings. They save, say, 1,000 on every Sunday or every Friday, and at the end of the year, they have some money that they divide, and then they are able to solve their needs. So the issues Honorable raises of the implementation, and more so the preparation of the people. Before these people are given the money, are they prepared? Do they know what they are going to use this money for? Someone has never, he talks of $1 million. $1 million may look small, but in the villages where we are talking of people get 1,000 in a month and you are giving them $1 million, that is a lot of money. Okay. So that's why we have seen cases of people drinking the old money, misusing the money, marrying other
Meaning
wives.
some of the other pillars have not been paid attention to because clearly what we seem to have, out of all the pillars, paid a lot of attention to the money.
And that is one of the key things I see usually here. People look at money in most cases. So we forget the other pillars of saving, of financial literacy. These people ideally we are supposed to be prepared first. Yeah. And the same has happened even in the Youth Livelihood Program. Let's prepare our people. This is coming. There was even a proposal of having a successful entrepreneur in a parish, identifying a successful entrepreneur in a parish to provide lessons for others. And not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. Other people are supposed to work for others. So we need one person who can use money very well, whom we call the risk taker. As we know, most entrepreneurs don't use their money, but you can go to the bank and get the money, provided you have ideas, you can supervise this money, you can make it grow, and then create jobs for others. So others can work from you and then earn. because the key issue here is income. People should have incomes in their homes so that they are able to buy their needs. They are able to pay fees. They are able to buy goods and services. Even as we are celebrating that our manufacturers have increased, but the issue of demand is remaining a big issue. People cannot buy. We have even cases where people who work in the same factories but cannot buy the products that are produced there.
Yeah.
So we need to work on that, and that one can be through mobilizing people, and that's why we are calling our leaders should join the debate and bring their people, mobilize their people to take advantage of these projects.
Okay, let's actually delve into what Honorable Hassan was talking about, the issue of a one-size-fits-all, for lack of a better word. That is what I will call it out. And this has been the biggest conversations regarding the parish development model, that you cannot give the same because you're trying to cause some bit of equality. And actually, this has also been seen in the recently released results, that when you look at the regional balance in terms of so many aspects, if you look at school dropouts, how many children are supposed to be in school in different regions, you'll find the same particular regions performing poorly. Even when it comes to labor productivity, areas like Bukedi, Karamoja will come at the tail end, and yet areas like maybe in the southwestern Uganda, in central, performing a little bit better. What was done wrong, and is there a way of remedying what we started? Because it seems it's already rolled out, it's a done deal.
Yeah, though it has been rolled out, there are reviews. You see, even in our plans, development plans, there is always mid-term review. So we can always review and take lessons. And that's why I told you in the Paris Development Model specifically, there was that element of the Paris Development Committee. So the Paris Development Committee was supposed to identify the areas where the, people will invest this money, and also identify who to benefit. So the only challenge we have had is the implementation. And also the issues. When we are coming here, we had some of the stories from your reporters. The implementers, first of all, I think they were also not well prepared, they were not well trained. Some implementers are also engaging in the acts of mismanagement, corruption. So once we start, I don't think that these people get the whole million. You may find there are also these people who say, for me to give you to be on a list, you give me 100,000. And who are those beneficiaries who have been identified? I agree, and this cuts across all programs. We cannot have homogeneous programs because people are not homogeneous. People here in the city are traders. People in the villages, in the Bukedi, as you have said, in Karamoja, are cattle keepers. So as we are coming up with the programs, we need to see those programs that can make the Karamajong cattle keeper to become productive. As we have seen what has happened, say, in Ankole. The cattle keepers of Ankole have become productive through various initiatives. They have built for them the milk, they brought in the exotic breeds that crossbreed their animals to increase the value. But also the investment in the mindset change itself. I don't think people in those regions you have mentioned understand the importance of money. So that's what we would start with, to change their mindset so that they can be ready for money economy. Okay. So that the PDM finds them when they know that this is what we shall use this money for. Not money coming. One of the key things that has come up, even from other programs, has been the issue of supply led. The government says money is here, can you mobilize yourself into groups of 10 and get the money? As opposed to demand side. That's supposed to prepare and say, we need a modern milk processing plant. It requires this money, and then we look for the money. So in that case, when the money comes, the money will be used for the right goal. But if it is the money that is chasing you, then you can misuse the money.
All right. And Honorable Hassan, this is why I come to ask, how would you as Parliament help in rectifying the ills that have come through, especially with the homogeneity of application? Because I believe you still have the carrot and stick. With you as Parliament, you're the ones who are appropriating a budget that will be going through. Do we have a turn back position at some point in time?
Does the government listen? I don't see that happening. The moment they have set their mind on something, they'll go nose diving, whether they are going to die or not. But like our lecturers mentioned beautifully, this whole PDM had issues right from the beginning. And those issues have carried on in the implementation stage. I can only see arrests happening because remember, this is a revolving loan. It's money that is given to our people to use and return.
Yes.
But with lack of sensitization, our people are getting this money. He's mentioned that some of them are getting married with this money. They are using...
Forming new homes.
I have 1 million shillings at home, and my wife is asking for sugar. We do not have sugar at home. Yeah. They are using that money for domestic use. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame them. And actually, we are going to be the people fighting for them when government wants to arrest them for failure to pay back the money. Because remember, one of the pillars of this PDM was mindset change. Did government invest enough time to educate our people about the usage of this money?
And that's pillar number 5, I think, of the
exactly.
PDM.
Was it really necessary to go in straight away with money right at the beginning? Because for me, that would be the point of protection of our people. What government was supposed to do was to create a platform for our people to blossom. I'll give you a very good example. In Luero, we are farmers. If you come to my town council in Woblins, we have pineapples on the street. People are selling pineapples from their gardens. Someone is going to come with a bunch of them, like 10 of them, and tells you, give me 20,000. What our people wanted is value addition chains. For government to come and put up a big factory, for example, for pineapple, for farmers, those who are producing mangoes, so that they can sell their goods to that factory or plant. Then they go back for production again and bring their goods. But now you are given $1 million, you take it into farming of pineapples, then you come and sell them cheaply. You are not making any profit. You are sitting at the same position where you were before. So what our government wanted is self-addition, rather value addition factories or production chains that are going to create demand for their production. They are producing tomatoes, they are producing mangoes, they are producing pineapples, and they do not have a good market for them. They are continuously making losses, and it's a disincentive in production. So I think as a country, we need to prioritize on where we're investing money. Was it really necessary to go into PDM as a driver for our economic growth, or we're supposed to go into manufacturing and industries so that these farmers can bring their produce to these factories and they get money? Right. So we need to go back on the drawing board and straighten up our priorities for economic growth in Uganda.
All right, thank you very much. Before we take a break, Peter, I'd like to come back to you on the issue of the demand versus supply, which you alluded to. And here government is trying to explain that they're also as much building the cottage industry. Like we've seen in some of the countries, the cottage industry growing and contributing quite a lot to industrial development. Are we just doing it wrong, or is there hope with the initiatives such as parish development model? We are targeting household income generation and rather later on the growth of the cottage industry, because agro-industrialization is one of the biggest conversations to the tenfold growth that government is even talking about right now.
Yeah, rightly. For example, China, where all households are engaged in production, we have seen these cottage industries grow, even here in Uganda. Many women now are engaged in production. I've seen so many women engage in the production of soap, liquid soap, petroleum products, even at home level. But the issue they face continue to be the market for their goods. But another thing which I should credit PDM is the bringing of money. That bringing of money into the some rural areas is not bad wholesomely, because first of all, it increases the demand for goods and services in those areas. You remember there is a time when people were encouraging people that if you are going for Christmas, why do you buy, when they're telling the Kampala people, why do you buy things in Kampala?
And ferry them to the village.
Why don't you come with the money and buy from the village stores? So the PDM somehow was doing that so that people can touch the money and taste the sweetness of money. Now, coming to the issue of cottage industries, there are still bottlenecks there. Okay. One is the power, the electricity.
The cost of power.
The cost of power, but also the hindrances. Others are non-cost, like connection. When someone applies to be connected to power, how many days do you take to be connected? And some areas, there are no transformers. So the power, the voltage of power is very low. So those inefficiencies in the institutions are hindering these efforts. Whereas when you bring power, say, to a village, some of these industries come up, the welding by the younger people, so younger people will be employed. The sewing machine, which will add value to agricultural products, because as he talked about, processing of, whereas now we are seeing production has increased,
yeah.
That means we now need to move into processing. How do we process the pineapple? But even when we have seen cases where industries have been built, and then there is no continuous supply, and those industries close. So we need to have a wholesome value chain kind of approaches as we do with these initiatives, not a one-off.
All right. Thank you very much. Peter and Honorable Hassan will be taking a very short commercial break. And when we do return, we'll be looking at how much better can we deal with these initiatives that government has set out, because like it's always said, the goal is always a good one, but the implementation is where the problem always comes through. Let's take a break and get back. Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it to NBS Television. This is the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show. And in our conversation, we're looking at the government empowerment programs and how much better they can be done in delivering the much needed success, and particularly that is getting more and more people into the money economy. With me is Mr. Peter Babienda, who is an economist and lecturer with Makerere University, but also I do have Honorable Hassan Chirumira here, the Member of Parliament for Katika Mus South as well. Making sense of this conversation. Honorable Hassan, let me start with you on how, moving forward, do we better these empowerment initiatives? Because I love that both of you asked, when we talk about money economy, in what terms are we seeking to have that description made? And it was very clear that it's not about touching the money, but it's how much that money gets to transform you, how much you keep, and all that. How do we get better with these initiative programs moving forward? In most cases, we always ask government here to Yambe, but also how do we empower the people to actually make better use of this money, those who are receiving it?
I think the whole idea is establishing an equilibrium, because government wants people to have money,
yeah,
household income. And now that means there should be production at household level. But again, with that production, it must be accompanied with demand. Now, the moment you have supply and no demand, it's a big loss.
Yeah.
So government has to create market for people, assuming they want agricultural production to increase. Of course, people are going to produce agricultural goods, but do they have a market for them? And the moment there's no market, then it's a disincentive for the farmers. So we have to come up with an equilibrium, with a balance, a proper balance between demand and supply.
Would that, sorry for holding you a bit, would that then justify the president's ambitious infrastructural conversation on development? Just the other day, yesterday, as he was celebrating independence, he's asked, let's have roads to the Central African Republic as well. So we ease movement of goods and services.
No, definitely what we want as Ugandans is market. If you look at the price of a pineapple on an international market, compared to what it is in Wobblins Town Council where I come from, there's a big problem. If, as government, we cannot look for markets for our products, then we are failing our people. What government has to do now, before we even start celebrating independence and making people, lying to people that there's an increase in the incomes, we have to make sure that we do the dirty work of getting markets for our goods. If I'm a farmer and I know that I'm going to produce my cassava, my pineapples, and there is ready market, then we are good to go.
Okay.
And these export companies are here. They just have to get into the villages, go on the international market, get markets for our goods. Then we will be ready to go. Our farmers are very hardworking people. Ugandans are not lazy.
Yes, but the catch for the farmers, unfortunately, Honorable, which is always my fear, is what is their bargaining power? Unfortunately, because you've always heard about conversations of farmers getting the peanuts and the middlemen actually getting much more because they are not organized.
As we grow strong and stronger, our farmers will get into unions. And it will take us back to cooperatives, if you remember the background for our farmers. Of course, they were united in their cooperative groups, and that means high bargaining power, and that it helped them to increase their incomes and production patterns. But so where we are now with disjointed farmers, government having less or no incentive towards uniting them into cooperatives, it's a big problem. And that's why we are pushing them to go back into cooperatives. Because, you know, with cooperatives, we have higher bargaining power, we have influence, it's more like a union. And when things happen in a union, then you have bargaining power, and you can get better results.
Okay, thank you very much. Peter, it's very clear when we're talking about production, it's heavier when it comes to the agriculture side. How do we use such government initiatives to deliver as expected?
Yeah, as just following up from the Honorable, one, I think some initiatives, the NADS, even I think somehow PDM, have led to an increase in the production.
Yeah.
As he says, then the market issue. But there's also another issue, and I think also the President talked about it yesterday, the criminality in the rural areas, the safety has increased. In some areas, people can come even with trucks and steal, if it is omwani, coffee in the night. Beans, the same. Maize, the same. Cows have been stolen. So this is another disincentive on top of lack of market. If we don't handle these criminalities, and some of this is resulting from the unemployed. You know, even from the results of this UBOS, they are telling you 51% of the younger people are not in employment, neither are they in education. Now where are they? And then these are unemployed people, especially in the villages. And now with the roads, it is very easy for a group of people to organize themselves even here in Kampala and then go and steal. Come to power. Power infrastructure is being vandalized, vandalized almost all the time, people stealing transformers, transformer wires and all that. Further creating more hindrances. So we need, as we are looking at creating a market, the security so that our farmers are secure and people are willing to invest, knowing that their money is safe. So after that, these farmers will be organized into, as he said, into unions, so that they are able to transport, for example, even their crops, say, to Kenya. Using just example of pineapple, these Kenyans who come and buy these pineapples from Wobblins, when the same pineapple which is here, someone is buying at 500. In Kenya, I think the minimum is like 5,000 shillings. No value added apart from just transporting it to Kenya. and you can see the increase of what the person is getting from one. So if these farmers were organized, maybe they would be able to raise money and build a factory, and we still have we still buy the juice. When you go to our plane, the Uganda airline, the juice which is sold there is imported. So we need to do value addition now, as we are bringing even the coffee itself. We should have machines in villages,
okay,
adding value to these crops so that our farmers can get more in addition to organizing them.
All right, thank you very much. While we continue to talk about agriculture, which is a very interesting aspect that even more than 63 or 68% of Ugandans are still directly involved in agriculture. Honorable, what comes to my mind is that we are still depending on rain-fed agriculture, because even according to the population statistics, about 76% of communities reported change in rainfall patterns, and about 42% of those actually did report that there were increases in temperatures, meaning it's not business as usual. The way I used to farm pineapples or coffee or bananas is not the same way as it is going to be. How is there going to be concerted effort between the farmers and government to ensure that we're not depending on nature, yet this is the biggest source of livelihood for many households?
Rightly so. Agriculture is the backbone of our economy. And government has been talking about agriculture mechanization. Of course, that is the way to go. The moment you invest in agricultural mechanization, then of course you have irrigation and all that. If you can move that to district levels, that will be a win-win for our people. But where we are now,
the farmers access it at the district.
At the district, if you move them to the district levels, such that farmers can get access to these equipment and use them in their different. Of course, it's a big call, but that's what countries that have benefited in agriculture have done. You do not expect my farmer in Makurubita to have the money to invest in these agricultural equipment like irrigation. They do not have that money. But what government can do is to extend those services to our people at district level, and then of course empower the few farmers within the agricultural sector, those who can have access and use those agricultural equipment to increase their production. When that happens, it will decrease on the dependency on the rain, and of course that will cut out the supply issues. One of the problems government keep on talking that supply is broken. It only comes after particular seasons and particular seasons. But when we have agricultural mechanization in place, people reducing on dependence on the rain seasons, then of course we shall have continuous supply of goods. And then of course our markets will be fed with goods at any one time.
Okay, thank you very much. Peter, I will go back to the issue of saving, and this even applies to food security, because looking at the statistics that 4 out of every 10 households are either moderately or severely food insecure, and yet we are talking about an agricultural country where we have more and more people invested there. That beats my understanding. How do we better? Because also, even when it comes to the sale, we will say, okay, we are selling all the food. But even in the sale of the food, a greater percentage of that is lost in post-harvest handling, meaning even the incomes which should have been gotten are lost along the value chain.
Yeah. Rightly so. To be food security has 4 components. And the best way of being food secure is having money, is having income. Because once I have money, like
you can buy.
I can buy, I can even import. Because there are those countries that can sell food to us. So to make ourselves food secure is to have all households in the money economy, all households to be able to buy. So the people may be in agriculture. What are they farming in terms of the quantity? So and now with these roads I talked about, which have somehow eased the connectivity of these middlemen, can go in the village and buy. Like for maize now, this time we have not had any cry because Kenyan trucks have been in the villages, even Rwandan trucks, the World Food Program. So if roads are okay, then the traders can come. But then we need to protect our traders to see that they get something from there. And ensuring the value chain is clear. So if with the market coming on board of agricultural products and for the lack of word, the sweetness of money, people sell, they don't keep. Those days we used to have granaries when we were young. Yeah. They are no longer there. People are even selling maize when the maize or cassava in the garden before harvest. I
sell my entire garden, even before it dries up, actually.
Absolutely, because there is market. A South Sudani businessman has come, he wants it. So in that case, this person, if he doesn't use this money very well, after a month, will have no money and then will have no food. So once people are economically empowered, the issue of food security will be addressed.
But you see, you're talking about saving, which is very true, that if I am hungry, I'll be able to, buy something as long as I have saved. But even then still, 41.7% of Ugandans 16 and above do not save at all.
Yeah.
That's close to almost half of the population. Not even with mobile money, not even with the village savings accounts, not even with the banks.
Yeah. Even here in the city, that's why we talk of Merialero. Many people are employed in Merialero, the tax conductors, the border. So the saving culture has to grow. But one way is through the circles we have talked about. Because even here now in the town, you see a stage of a border, they have their Kasako. It is a culture. Saving builds. So even this would extend to farmers. We need to have saving groups for our farmers so that they are able to save. But you had earlier on talked about a key issue which is also affecting and increasing on food insecurity, the issue of climate change. Yeah. We are depending on nature. So once we don't have rains, we face it tough. Yet a crop doesn't require rain, but requires water. So if you can water the crops. So one of the investments that Minister of Agriculture needs to do is ensuring water for irrigation is available and cheap, and also try to supply these equipments at subsidized price because they are very expensive. The pumps are expensive. Remember, I also told you of another risk of theft. You buy your pump and then it is stolen.
Yeah.
So the whole value chain needs serious interventions from the Minister of Agriculture. I saw in the budget, the good thing the Honorable will be here, they should follow up. There were so many initiatives in the budget that were meant to support farmers, starting with large-scale farmers in the parishes. Just because like this pump, you don't need everybody to have. If you only had three people in the parish having these pumps, the rest can access them from there.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And as we get to close off this conversation, Honorable Hassan, I'll still come to you on the issue of saving both food security, because that statistic of 4 out of every 10 being moderately or severely food insecure, and yet we boast of being an agricultural country, is alarming, lest we will start asking government to Yambe and we're doing food supply. But that also does speak to the savings of what is in your pocket at the end of the day. If you're sick, are you able to pay for your medical bills? If your child is going to school, are you able to pay for the school fees? And we have over 40% of Ugandans who do not even think about saving at all.
It has an economics explanation, the lecturer will tell you. The marginal propensity to save depends on how much you earn. You're going to find our people...
we just don't have a savings culture. Because I want to give you an example, Honorable. Sorry for interrupting you. I've experienced that sometimes you will find the people who earn a little bit less may even have a better saving culture than the so-called corporates.
What about those who do not earn at all?
At all.
People are not employed.
Okay.
You know, with our very high unemployment levels in the country, where are they going to get money to save? So the whole idea is making sure that we stop lying to people and people are having meaningful employment. Then when we move to that
Meaningful
level,
employment is the key word, yes.
People are living on a day-to-day basis.
They're in disguised
I'm going to town, get some money for lunch, and if I can get lunch, well and good. I won't mind about supper. Oh, yeah. And then you're telling that person to save. What is he going to save? To be honest with you, our people are broke. And because they are broke, they cannot save, they cannot invest, and then we are in the vicious cycle of poverty. That's where we are now. So we need to start with first things first. Let's work on our investment options as a country, establish as many factories and industries as possible, bring our people into employment. Then we're going to start demanding them to save. Then we're going to start demanding them to invest. But where we are now as a country, even security, forget about food security, even security of our people is not there. After 40 years in government, just this week in Wobblins Town Council, I know a person who came to me, one of my neighbors. He's been saving his money and he bought cattle. He wants to like fatten them and sell. Then people came at night and took all of them, 5 of them. Back to square one, back to poverty. Yeah. And that's where we are now. Food security, security of our people is of paramount importance when we talk about investment and saving.
All right, thank you very much. And also, it goes back to us as you work through. Please remember there's, at least if you have some income, saving is a very good aspect. I think the whole idea of government Etuyambe cannot continuously be the talk of town. But thank you very much.
Etuyambe in terms of employment.
Yes. But if there is nothing as yet, where am Yotia?
Then we have to stay in poverty. Unfortunately, people do not have money to invest.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Hassan, for sparing your time to be with us. And to you, Peter, it's been a pleasure. Let's continue with this conversation. It's never ending, definitely. The issue of socio-economic transformation and bettering Ugandans' lives, because we have a very young, dependent population. At least more than 75% of Ugandans are below the age of 30. So how do we get to deal with that? That is having to be a continuous conversation. Thank you for joining us. I am Mildred Tohai. Say good morning and God bless you.